Easy E, how are we?
Johnny, I tell you what, I've never been to an expo through Instagram, but that's how I've spent the weekend watching all the work you guys are doing. I felt bad. You had a busy all weekend without me. Must have been tough.
Well, lucky for me, you happened to assemble the Avengers around me to make us look really good. So I arrived on Friday afternoon coming home, and all of a sudden there's a big box out the back door. I'm like, what's this? And you had the pull-up banner done, the tablecloth with the AGR logos and all the rest. I get up there early Saturday morning, not too sure what to expect. Walked in, I'm like, oh my God, this looks phenomenal. Just seeing all the different expo, the brands and stuff that were there. And then once, like, I straight away shout out to Monroe because his mind, the way he works and getting people over, and you know, we different vox pops going on. We'd Katie and Laura have people sign up for competitions and everything else. We'd Andrew and Lorraine do research things on like squat tests and all the rest of people like, oh, I want to get top score in that. So got a little bit competitive over there. Myself and Neve were doing videos there, and then we had guys up on stage and all. It was my mind's racing, try and thank everyone. I'm going to talk about speakers in a second because I'm just literally home the last 10 minutes from it. So Sunday evening recording this one. So if my mind and words are all over the shop, I do humbly apologise. I might send it back to you on what you saw from Mozambique of Northern Ireland and the Icon Centre over the weekend.
Mozambique. It definitely wasn't Belfast anyway. But no, it looked really, really good. It looked and seeing some of the snippets of the talks and stuff that happened, and kind of gave people an insight into what the podcast is all about and the everyday runner. And as you've mentioned, so many people helped us in the build up and helped us over the weekend and gave their time to be part of it. And in particular, for those who've just picked up listening, thanks for coming to say hello. Thanks for getting involved. Thanks for having a chat, and thanks for sharing some of your stories and some of your adventures and what it is you're doing. One thing I can say, and looking at the stats and the data and stuff that's coming back, we have a lot of guest recommendations, probably enough to last about 2 years of the podcast. So really, really well done to all those who bought into what it is we try to do and bring everyday stories of everyday heroes in your local community. So a really, really good, it seemed to be a really good event. For us, a great event to get to. A podcast, you know, what are we? We sit in screens like I'm in Africa and we run a podcast, but to actually get to meet people and talk to people and, you know, get their stories firsthand, it really does, I imagine for you guys, but even for me, seeing them come through as they were being logged, it was absolutely amazing to watch. Absolutely brilliant. It looked like a great weekend of the community fun, something that myself and yourself probably don't see because we just see the laptop and the guest and in actual fact, how many people are listening every week? We see the numbers, but there's no faces to them. And to put those faces to it is really, really something special. It was a great weekend, and a big thank you to our two sponsors, Perform and Ultra Pure, who sponsored parts of the hamper as well with some of their goodies and really there for the runner as well. So they had a great weekend, and overall it was successful for us. We got to meet people, and we hope anyone who did go got to enjoy some of the day as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many different running stories I couldn't even start to explain, but some of those stories were told on stage. I got to thank Jer, I got to thank Monroe and Rachel on the Saturday talking about their marathon stories, making me look good up there and not having to say a whole hell of a lot. And then on Sunday we had Aoife Faye was up there with Rachel Farrell and talking about how much running has led towards the hybrid series and high rocks and all the rest there. And they were phenomenal. All five I had on stage. They were people where you weren't just getting one word answers of them. Like they're telling stories, they're really engaging. And you could tell that as well by the end with the Q&A and people wanting to know more about that. And then even at the end on the Saturday and the Sunday, people coming up and asking them questions. I'm like, you should have asked when we had the mic. And they kept asking. We couldn't even get a picture of us on stage. It took so long on both days for that because people kept asking questions. It was absolutely brilliant. Really enjoyed it. I'm absolutely wrecked, but in a good way from it right now. Just the amount of stories was just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. And like, as I said, I had serious FOMO sitting here as the IT on-call guy. This is not working. I'm putting my glasses back on. No problem.
I'll fix it.
I felt like such an unathlete here, just fixing QR codes and entries and all that. But yeah, look, it was a really nice occasion for us. That's our first expo, the island of Ireland's first expo, and like those who were there, it's a great start.
Yeah.
It's a great start to see where this goes, and I've no doubt Una, who was the organizer, has been on this show as well, worked with us. I've no doubt there's more to come, and where and when and all those to be revealed. But it was a really, really well put together expo, and well organized, and anyone who went got to enjoy that and got to have a bit of fun. And that's what it's all about, without the pressure of a race and everything else that we said beforehand. So really, 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 really good experience I got to watch you all have.
I will say one more thing on it that I don't know why it surprised me, but it did. A lot of the vendors in the stalls were there to help each other out with different things as well, and come visit each other, and just cross promotion and stuff like that. You could see was really good. It wasn't like people were just really just sticking to themselves, that kind of thing. And it's great seeing that, because sometimes the culture can be just, well, I look after my own, and that's it. So seeing that, and seeing that in that setting for the running community is good. And speaking of running community, a lot of them are going to be there this Saturday in Donaghadee, and you're back in the country
I'm
this
back.
Saturday in Donaghadee for the
Look out.
50k. Not doing the 50k, but you're
No,
there
I'm
in the
doing
forest
IT
for the
support.
50k.
IT support. I'll be holding and the T is going to be real T, not IT. It's my T support.
Mm,
So yeah, I'll keep my hands warm with a cup of tea while I watch all of you do a few laps. I might throw abuse at you and Jer, and I might even throw more than just abuse. But it's the Donaghadee 50k week. It's a special, special time of the year. Big shout out to Anto and the Donaghadee 50k. For whatever reason, we've made the T-shirt, the iconic Donaghadee 50k
mm.
T-shirt has our logo on it. But what a fantastic run up to this weekend! I can't wait. The first big event I get to go as I've like been home is the
Yeah.
Donaghadee. I've missed it every year, so to come home, and that's my. I think I'm back 24 hours or something as Donaghadee 50k to see everyone. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a great event. And I think, is the weather looking okay, Sean? Are you nervous?
I'm afraid to look. I'm afraid to look. All of the downfall of rain, and a lot of people going through a lot of stuff over the last week or two. I'm afraid to look what it's going to be like from my race this weekend. But we will say one quick story. The first year I did it, I've said I don't want to say a 50k is easier than a marathon, but my approach has always been, for the two I've done, always been. But I do the 5k. I might take a quick breather or stretch after like the third or fourth lap, and just make sure the DOMs don't kick in. But every 5k you get that great long stretch of all different runners and stuff, and everyone seems to know everyone. And then somewhere during that, your table set up, bit of food, gels, back down the table, not dropping the wrappers on the route, and then you're going again. But the first year I did it, I had Neve a little bit down the end, because down closer to the lake, and my thinking at the time was, I get the big cheers. You're always going to want to run at that stage. And then when the crowd dies down, oh
I want to
shit, I need
suffer
a
in
break.
silence.
Just like in Dublin. So I was talking to a load of acclaim runners after one of the Sunday runs, and like, oh, how great Neve is and help me out and all that kind of stuff. I was like, great. It's like, she's vicious. It was like one of the times I did Donaghadee, and the second last lap I came in, and a few friends there. One of our friends, Elaine Skelly, almost threw into the lake because she jumped onto my back, and I just ran 40k so far. But apart from that, it was all good. I did another lap, and then I was coming back in. I had around 40 minutes left. I was like, I'm easily going to do this in 30 and come in around 4:50 and it'll be grand. So I'm going to stop, get a bite to eat, get a bit, whatever, bit of a stretch, talk to the gang. So like 4 or 5 people there, and go again. But as I was getting closer to the gang, Neve came up and just slammed the Lucozade bottle into my chest and goes, don't fucking stop. Keep running. I was like, Jesus. I was like, that's harsh. So I told this group to the claim runners, and they were all laughing and stuff. And then I told Neve again how harsh she has been in runs. And like the other one down in the Tipperary, the elevation and stuff that, send me back out in the pisses of rain. It took me 80 minutes to do a 6.7k loop, even though I got what I wanted out of the day. But then after that, she goes, Sean, that wasn't my idea. I go, what do you mean it wasn't your idea? And she goes, Kevin English told me to do that, because after one of the times I stopped, he came over to me and goes, why the hell does he keep stopping? Why does he keep stretching? Just send him on his way. And that first year, as well as Neve, Kevin had a load of different people from his running group doing it. I think it was here Ian Fitzgerald one, but like Wayne Waldron and all was under Kevin at the time running. So he had a load of people doing that and constantly cheering people. But at the same time, when he saw I was struggling by the lake, he came over, was giving me words of encouragement, trying to push me on, giving me different running advice. And that's what, so shout out to Kev, one, but two, that's what it's like down there. Even when people are there with the different run clubs, you see all the different jerseys and the vests on them and everything else. They're supporting and cheering everyone on. Like, I remember doing it that
Right.
year. It was the first time we had Ian Fitzgerald on the Monday and then on the podcast. And then that weekend he goes and wins. I was like, that's great time. And thank you, Ian.
Great for our
But
numbers.
good man, Ian. Win for us,
Come
Ian.
on, Ian.
But as he was doing it, he was like, still, I remember I go suffering. He must have lapped me 2, if not 3 times at this stage. He was just like, come on, Sean, we're all suffering together. Keep going, keep going. You're like, well, he's after going that fast that long. Surely to God, I can go that little bit faster to try and keep going and finishing. And that's what I really love about this race is that just that community there. It's absolutely brilliant. And having said all that, Jer Copen still abused me over the weekend, saying he's going to pass me at least twice. So my goal is just once, just once to be lapped by Jer, and I'll be happy out there.
He wants me to try and I know Ando doesn't want people jumping, but he keeps like, no, you'll do a little bit of running with me. I'm like, yeah, I can't.
Ando doesn't want
You leave me,
it.
you leave me in dust in about 200 meters. I can't keep up with you.
You'll slow him
So
down. I kind of want
I
you to
would.
jump in with him now because you'll slow him down, even
I'll
though they
slow
all
him
people
down.
jumping in. But if it
I'll
helps
slow
me
him
and
down.
Ando, for Jared only lapped me once, what can I say?
Yeah, it will slow it down. But look, it is something to look forward to. It is another good week in the calendar and one that should be in everyone's. And keep an eye on this race over the weekend. We'll touch base on it in the next intro to see how Sean got on in the Donady 50k. And very best of luck to anyone who is taking part. And for all those who are going down to support, do your best to cheer everyone on. As Sean has just said, it's a community event where everyone needs to get under 5 hours and we want everyone to succeed. So best of luck to everyone.
Absolutely. And we've talked about running stories, stuff like that. This week's guest pretty much personifies a lot of what we talked about this weekend and stuff, from his story, from the different marathons and everything else he's gone through, to getting a second chance.
Yeah, it's definitely one we touched on early on in the year, and it's I have to say, this episode is a privilege, and it is a privilege for a very good reason that we get to do it, and that is what makes this episode so special. And it doesn't need much more of an introduction than that. And it's throughout this episode, just know that that's how we felt about the whole thing. And we're very lucky to have been able to host this episode, and such a great person. Still figuring out a lot of things, of course, but to give us their time and to talk about this. It's probably, of the 300 and coming up to 20 episodes, it's probably definitely one that sticks out in the memory. But yeah, a great week, another great episode, and another great listen.
And with that said, it's this week's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast. Let's go. Our next guest on the Any Given Run Day podcast has completed multiple marathons and Ironmans before having 2 hips replaced. And then he went on to complete a Dublin Marathon last year in an unofficial world record for a double hip replacement. I kind of wish that was the reason we had our next guest in the podcast, but sure, we'll let him tell you the reason why himself later on in the podcast. Lawrence Mooney, welcome to this week's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast. How you getting on?
Thanks. I'm good, yeah.
How are the new hips for dancing?
They're pretty good, actually. Yeah, I don't get out much these days, but they're fine. And I'm doing dry January with no choice of my own at this stage, But anyway, yeah,
We'll
they're
get
good.
into
They're
that
strong.
a bit later. Apart from having WD-40 in your pre-race kit, where, obviously Sean has said you've done multiple marathons, multiple Ironman, where did the love for running, how did you get into running, and how did you get involved in the sport?
Well, I used to. I actually changed sport because I used to play squash a fair bit when I was a bit younger. But that's kind of hard on the knees, so I'd had multiple kind of knee operations and clean outs and whatnot. So I couldn't really do the movements anymore on the squash court. So I kind of took up triathlon, sprint triathlons, and the first one I'd actually done was, I think it was in 2013 or 2009. Actually, was King of the Hill in Cork. So And I thought that was going to be my last one. But then a friend of mine, because I don't know, anybody that's new to triathlon, you find it very difficult to come off the bike and start to run with your legs are a bit jelly. But look, it's just practice and you get used to it over the years. And now it kind of comes second nature, really, So it's all that movement of not going sideways. It's just going straight in front of each other. So that's kind of how I started there. And a friend of mine, he had recommended we do an Olympic distance one, So we started doing a thigh. That's when we used to do a lot of the ones there in Ireland. But of course, with the travelling nowadays to these races, it takes half the day to get there, So no, then we kind of just started to go and do a few ones abroad. Have a bit of fun when we went to Mallorca was one of the first ones. The guys, a lot of them fall off by obviously getting married and having kids and so on. But I kind of work for myself, so it's kind of handy that I can do the training myself, So I'm not any part of a club. So yeah, that's how I got into it. And I just kept going, It's always a few in the calendar every year just to keep myself active,
Most people, when they pick up triathlon, it's usually, and particularly in Ireland, it's always the swimming. It's most of us have not become a competent enough swimmer over distance. What was your biggest barrier to it, apart from the knees? But to get into sport, were you able to swim? Because a lot of people are thinking that even as this episode comes out, triathlon season is going to be coming around the corner, and Triathlon
Sure.
and one you've mentioned is always one on the list for people to get involved in. So what was your biggest barrier to triathlon?
Well, I could always swim, but I was like most people that swim, if they don't get lessons when they're younger, they kind of start from when they're in their late 40s, Because I was, I think, 40 by the time I started getting lessons. So I got a few lessons with a guy in Westwood, and he taught me to do front crawl, and I just practiced. That's all I did. I had 2 lessons off him, practiced, and then kind of built up my... I used to be a half 5 in the morning guy, where I'd go down and do maybe an hour in the pool, but the lanes got too busy, so I just started to do it kind of when it suited me, But look, the fear of the swimming is the part that puts a lot of people off, because especially nowadays when you hear about all the accidents that are happening in the water, because there's a lot of people that are very competent swimmers and they go off first and they'll always do a fairly good time. But most of the guys I would know that are brilliant triathlete guys are generally swimmers from when they were an early age. They were always kind of taken to the pool at 5 o'clock in the morning by their parents, and then back again in the afternoons, after school. So really, for me, I wasn't so lucky to have that, because when I grew up in Scotland, there wasn't really any swimming pools that we were could go to school. And I think that's one of the problems in Ireland as well, is that it's a bit unfortunate that you can't really have 25 or 50 metre pools on your doorstep. You kind of have to be in a club or join a club to be able to get access to some of these pools, So, and I know even down the country as well, places just outside Galway, you got to travel a fair distance to get a pool, And I know people go on holiday and they swim, but it's not the same, It's not the same.
No.
You can't replicate like 1,000 people in the water in the one go, kicking each other and battering each other around the place, So I suppose there is videos
Depends on
there
where
where
you
people
go on
are
holiday, Lawrence.
Well, that's true, yeah.
That doesn't sound appealing.
There is, yeah. There is places you can go where that would happen. Maybe an 18 to 30 would be a good start for people, wouldn't it?
Now, Lawrence, when you say you couldn't swim by your 40, we've had people in the podcast that said that, and like, oh, well, I actually could do a few lengths of stuff. What are we talking about on like 0 to 10 meters? Could you do any sort of swimming at all before you started in 40?
I'd say I could probably do like 200 meters. And then
there goes my
you'd be
hope.
tired.
Sean was hoping.
Well, you're going to say I had no swimming.
I was hoping it was 0, Lawrence. I was hoping, because I'm at 0. I can't go 10 meters like unless I've got the wall beside me. I'm holding on to that with one hand. I'm trying to push with the other.
Yeah. Well, it's like everything. You just get a lesson or something, and then you go from there. But I think most people, it's the breathing part, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I only breathe to the one side, so I'm kind of not that efficient in the water. As some guys that can do it both ways. So, but look, it hasn't done me too bad. I can get by. I can get round the long courses if I have to. And look, they do swimming events as well. Like Glendalough does a swim every year up there, and there's a few distances there that you can try out. So, and look, as there's always lifeguards and there's people to help you if you get into trouble. So, look, if you're having problems swimming, just get some lessons from somebody. That's all I can say, and then you'll soon find your way.
Progressing on from that, Lawrence, you tried out the sprint with your buddy. You moved up to the Olympic,
Yeah.
and I know from doing it myself, I loved the Olympic because it was long enough to hurt me. No, sprints hurt if you're trying. I was
Sure,
never
yeah.
one to be fast. I was always last out of the water, so I actually didn't enjoy sprints because I was always on my own.
Right.
But as you
Sure.
move up to the Olympic distance and element, it was what I thought was the perfect distance. How did you find moving up the levels, and then what drew you to the longer distance?
New year, new me. So I'm making new things happen right now. After my run, I must have an ultra pure Epsom salts bath, rich in pseudomagnesium, and feels great after a long session. Oh, but you need to run first. So I know where you're going with that, Eric. And when my muscles ache, I haven't got time for a bath like you. So I'm having their ice cold menthol gel, instant cooling relief, and it helps me get ready for the next one. Yeah, but I could have that, but if I'm on the go, I also want to have the essential oil muscle rub on as well. I know where you rub that on. Stop it. I know you're going to go with that. So stop it right now. So I'm going straight to the finish. Exactly. New year, new goals, and muscle recovery support that works. And it actually is really good for you, despite what I'm saying here. But I'm not having you abuse me in 2026. So do your little outro you normally do.
It's like you're in my head, but by listening to this advert, you are supporting this Irish podcast and Irish businesses. Do take a look at the Ultra Pure range online and this great value bundle and save 10% on ultrapurelabs.ie.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because you just, you know what it's like. I mean, it might be banter in the pub where you're talking to a guy and he says, "Oh, come on, we'll do a half Ironman." You go, "What's that distance?" And then you find it's 1.9. So that's your biggest daunting is how do you do 1.9K without kind of stopping and people clambering all over you? Because that's effectively what happens. If you stop in the water, you're basically underwater.
Jeez.
And it can be quite dangerous, and I think the brands, there's a lot of brands out there at the moment that do the long distance, so we won't mention any brands, but I think sometimes, they don't really check to make sure that you're a competent swimmer, so you can have a bit of a guy who's a novice swimmer who thinks he's a decent swimmer, and when you're out in the big wide oceans there where the waves are pretty high, it's not replicated in a swimming pool by any means.
Sean's having flashbacks to me doing Portugal.
The old death waiver makes a lot of sense though when it comes that way, where some of these places you talk about is like the first line is it's not our fault kind of thing with the swimming and all the rest. It is up, like you say, there is no kind of checks in that. You can either run, you can cycle, but the swimming it's just you're kind of relying on people not going in with ego, thinking they're biting off more than you chew. If you do that with a run, you're going to walk, you're going to suffer, you're going to have a long day. You do that with a swim, though.
You can't do it, you just can't do it, I mean, you swim back and there is that ego of people jumping in, I mean, I've done numerous ones and I remember one in Barcelona there in 2018 where the waves were so high that even the pros were getting thrown back.
Jeez.
Like and Barcelona would be known to be a relatively easier Ironman flat fast course, along with sort of Copenhagen and there's a few other ones as well, but still that one was a rough one as well. And I always remember there was a girl beside me, she didn't even get in. She just didn't get in at all. She just, all the money that she paid to get there, and and they say the hardest part of any Ironman is actually getting to the start line. It's not finishing it, it's getting to the start line, and once you get to the start line, well, you can still have your nerves when you get there, but look, it depends, swimming's one of those things that I'm kind of I've accepted now that I'm reasonable at. I can do the distance. I won't be out top age group in my distance, but I'll be up there in the top 15, top 20% of my age group. So that's something, and then my bike would probably be the strength. My running is just average. But it's like everything. You practice more, and most people are good at one of the disciplines better than the other ones, but it's it's a bit of a sport that you get hooked on, It's a bit of a sport you're getting hooked on. So and it's getting very popular now, isn't it? It's probably up there
Absolutely.
with high rocks now as well. Everybody's you can take your top off as well if you want, but you get disqualified in triathlon if you take your top off.
Lawrence, there's a load of things to talk about, but I was trying to do a bit of homework on you. Did I see a video of you back in 2020 talking about just when you said bike was your strongest, and if this is wrong, I'll cut this out, but there was Lawrence Mooney talking about reformer Pilates. The bike's the strongest, and you're big on that for your core, and that helped you through triathlon, helped you faster on the bike.
Sure.
Reformer Pilates is something we have not talked about, pretty much at all over 300 episodes of podcasts. What led you to do that to complement that with your triathlon training?
Well, a guy I used to train with, actually, a guy, Will Byrne, he had his own studios. So they were doing a video for the company, and he asked me would I do some reformer, the promotional video for them. So we did, but I really found that, like, I don't really get, it's just me that's got 2 new hips, but I don't really get injured other than the wear and tear of the hips,
Right.
But like for the reformer, it's more your body strength that you're using, and it's machines. And again, like that, they're getting very popular as well now. There's a lot of people in the media now that will swear by reformer, as opposed to just the mat Pilates as well, which is fine as well. There's one I use a new studio now up in Powerscourt. The one opened up there now, so it's good. I try and do that 3 times a week in the mornings. Just to keep myself in shape, really, I suppose, and I suppose at the moment I can't really do very much because I'm kind of out rehabbing at this stage. So I'm dying to get back doing that again.
And we'll definitely get to that story. Before we do, we've completely jumped your marathon journey. Am I right in saying 2013 was your first Dublin marathon? Do I have that right?
I think I did that one. Yeah. I've done a few times actually, Dublin. Yeah. So I think my times are getting slightly slower, but look, I would never be a sub 3 guy, because you got to really put the training in if you want to get that level. But no, 2013, and it's a long way. And a marathon's a long way, It's people take them for granted, but it's you have to put in the training. And I suppose some people say that you can get away with a marathon if you do a lot of biking, which I kind of found that I don't do the typical marathon training that most people would do. When I see guys on their Stravas doing like 70, 80K a week, up to, and their long runs on a Sunday, I wouldn't really be one of those guys. My long run generally would be on the day. So I don't really go out there and do like 37K runs or 35K runs. I just tip away on the bike and then do a few half marathons up to the marathon day. But there's a lot of events in Ireland now. There is a lot of them in... There's the Longwood one as well, isn't there? The 3/4 marathon, which is a nice one. So I kind of do that one generally before the marathons. So and every time I sign up, I sometimes sign up and I get in, and you feel that because you sign up, you get in, you have to do it, and even this year, I kind of wished I hadn't got in, because I went through the lottery and I got in, which was a bit of a disappointment because I didn't really want to do it. So
don't let too many people hear you that, although it's too late for that.
I'll be getting people requesting to kind of transfer it to them, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. But the lottery's probably a good idea as well, because it's the same people that get it all the time. For the last 13 or 14 years, I've had a slot. I might necessarily have done it every year, but you have a slot to do it, so you don't have to worry. But some of the bigger ones, like the London one, you can never really get into.
No, it's silly odds getting to
or New York or Boston.
Yeah,
so they're the hard ones.
Yeah, it's like over 500,000. Actually, geez, a lot more actually apply for London. I think it is. I have to check the figures on that, but I think London's actually, in terms of ballot, the hardest.
250,000.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
insane. Yeah. It's insane. It's so hard to get into. And obviously, Dublin's getting a little bit harder and harder to get into. A lot of people this past week.
Well, it is, isn't it? Yeah,
half marathon even. That's
right.
Insane now. Yeah.
It's but that's how popular they've got now, isn't it? You can't even, if you want to do one, you can't even do them. It's like nowadays. This my son was doing a little race at the weekend there, the Raheny 5 miler, but even that's sold out.
That's a very popular race for people. That's
a good race,
one people's
good race,
yeah.
Lawrence, what makes that so popular in your opinion? What makes the Raheny 5 miles so popular?
Well, I think it's probably a bit like the Tom Brennan 5K as well. You know, that's a relatively new one to me. That I've done that one 2 or 3 times now, and I think it's the distance, and it's like the Raheny one. I think there's about 4,000 possibly do that one. Is there maybe a 2,000? I can't remember offhand, but it's a nice distance. You know, without pushing yourself to like half marathon pace. I think it's a good starter for a lot of people around the place to join. You know, and they can find their pace. You know, on that one. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can still walk a lot of these ones as well. A lot like the Clontarf half marathon's another one that's popular, sells out all the time as well because it's flat and fast. You know,
Yeah.
and it's even flatter now that they've taken it off the beach. I don't know if you've ever done that one. 'Cause
No.
you used to have to.
I've heard about on the beach. Awful.
Yeah, you used to run on the beach, and if you weren't fast enough, you'd be running through sand and water on the way back because it was kind of out to sort of towards Sutton and then back again at a turnaround point. But if you were a bit slower, you get wet feet on the way back in. So, but they changed it now. It's straight out towards Sutton on the road now. So it's it's a popular one as well. Yeah.
Just to bring you back before we move on the different races to talk about the training on the triathlon side and then into marathon. One of the best marathons I've done came off the back of doing my first triathlons and plenty of triathlons. And like that, I don't think I ran much further than a half marathon distance or maybe a little bit more. What are the benefits that you see of mixing the two when you want to come up to, we'll talk about Ironman or full distance triathlons later, but when it comes to just running a marathon based on you're doing reformer Pilates, you're doing swimming, you're cycling and protecting the body but still training the body, what benefits do you see of the multi-sport transitioning into just the running?
Well, I think like with most runners, that generally, you know, it's a one-trick pony, really. You know, a lot of the runners, and if you do get injured, you really don't have much other choice. You know, whereas for me, as I say, my main would be the bike, so I can mix it up pretty easily. You know, and if I don't feel like biking on a Sunday because it's raining outside, I'll go down and like do a swim, or I can do a watt bike or something in UCD, because they have about 10 watt bikes down there that can be used. But I just think it's just having different multi-sports is a better idea than just one, you know? But there again, you know, a lot of people that pure bikers they don't do triathlons.
Yeah.
Pure guys that do racing, they're not really interested in triathletes at all, you know? But it's a different sport altogether as well, because I think in cycling, I've never really done any competitive cycling apart from triathlon, but you know, you can't draft in triathlon. So you can't sit on the back of somebody's wheel.
Yeah.
You know, so you'll get disqualified. Well, you won't get you'll get disqualified, or you get points or something. You know, cards against you. So it's getting fairly competitive that way on the basis that like you can do a lot of drafting in road cycling, as you're aware of. You know, when in triathlon you can't do that. So you get a bit more found out in road biking really than triathlon.
Psst, Sean.
Yes.
We're going on an adventure.
Alpaca your bags.
God.
We are going to the Northern Ireland Running Show this February 7th and 8th, Saturday and Sunday. We'll be there along with our sponsors. So many of the goodies and gadgets you never get to eat, try and play with as you get ready for a marathon. It's Ireland's first running expo. We'll be there doing interviews. There'll be so many great guests and entertainment on the day. It is all that we want, food and drink wise, everything there for the family on the day. And you can look it up on anygivenrunday.com or the Northern Ireland Running Show. If you are a club member and looking for 2 free tickets for your club, please reach out to us on Instagram or send us a message and leave your details on www.anygivenrunday.com. And let's get back to this week's episode.
Why are we whispering?
Psh, it's a holiday. And then in terms of the training, then moving it on, you know, when you're coming off a 2-3 hour cycle, zone 2, and keeping the heart rate relatively easy, that transition into running, because Sean has seen me transition into running in an Ironman, and
Yeah.
there was a moment we all thought I was not going to stand up off the bench.
Yeah.
How did you find that transition into the marathons and into the running and the long distance running?
Oh, it's hard. It's not that about it. It's practice. I mean, that's why they have these brick sessions that people come off the bike and wobble around the place for a few 100 meters. And then I suppose it's like experience. You just get used to it. You just got to practice it, and when you come off the bike. Yeah, I always remember the first one in King of the Hill, and it was there's a hill there. It's only a 5K run, but I mean, you were walking up the hills. It was... But then, you kind of, you weren't as competitive as you might well be now, because most people be competitive in these races, unless they're just pure beginners. But no, I think it's good. And it's good test you, it's a good discipline for yourself as well, but the running, it's just practice. That's really all it is when you come off the bike, is practice. I mean, it's the same for everybody when they start, nobody's an expert from day one, so it's just persevere with it, and you'll find yourself running as if it's second nature off the bike,
Throughout all these marathons and Ironmans over the last 10, 15 years, since 2009, doing these kind of things, when someone asks you about like what do you do for sports-wise, do you consider yourself more of a marathon runner, more of a triathlete? Is there one over the other here, Lawrence, for you?
I'd probably say I'm more retired at this stage, to be honest, and then I've been retired for the last probably 5 years, ever since I got my first hip replacement. I was kind of told that it was all over, and it's trying to keep a good man down, so you start going back and doing a little bit, and then also you feel that you can do a bit more. And I always remember when I did my first marathon after a hip replacement, I was kind of skeptical how would it go, but it went pretty well. I did under the 3:30, and I was fairly happy with it, But it's just muscle. It's just muscles, I think the hardest part of a hip replacement for me was, they've just cut the muscle, because they cut the glue at the back, and then you have to rebuild that muscle up again. So a lot of people don't do the rehab on it,
Were you told during the rehab stage, hey, you get this rehab right and you could be back running, or were you told that surgeries can go either which way? You're told that there's a possibility that you won't run again or do triathlons again. Was this all leading up to this? Like,
they don't recommend it. Okay,
right? Yeah,
they don't recommend you running, but like there's so many people that have actually done it over the years, and I just think you got to listen to your body all the time. And I know loads of people that the first time I was told you need a hip replacement, it was devastation.
What led to that, Lawrence?
As in me getting it, or just the devastation?
Just the first time that you got that led to that conversation that you were told, hey, you need a hip replacement.
Yeah, well, see, you look back on the signs, and you can go to as many physios as you like, but the reality of it is they're not going to fix you from needing a hip replacement. Right. I know physios won't want to hear that, but the reality of it is that you could spend thousands and thousands of euros on a physio, and you're
not fixing bone; it's deteriorating, right?
Correct. Yeah, you've got bone on bone, and if you've got bone on bone, there's no fixing that. No. I know they do two types of. They do a resurface of a hip now as well. They've been doing that one for years as well. I don't know if you know the difference between that one there.
No,
they don't hammer it down the femur. If you ever look at a hip replacement, how it works is there's a ball and socket, and then I suppose without looking at a diagram of a full hip replacement against a ball and socket one, which is the resurface, is they just resurface the actual socket of the hip, so they don't go down to the femur. So it's probably as much as a recovery as the full one, but they don't do them as much in Ireland anymore. Okay, that's my experience of speaking to people in the past, that they generally just go for the full hip replacement ones. And some guys just give up after it, and say, like, I've done that, I'm not doing it, I'm not going to do runs on anymore, or do any particular times.
You've a double hip replacement then?
I didn't get them at the same...
You didn't get the same time? What kind of gap are you talking about?
I got 3 years of a difference, till the other one went. So
and did you know after the first one that the second one could go, or when you got back running, you're like, shit, the other one's at me now, or how did that work?
I didn't really have any. You always think, why was it just one, But there again, you can compensate by taking the pressure off one one hip and putting onto the other one. I always remember times when I would maybe do a 10K and they literally couldn't lift your leg back into the car because the pain in your groin was like horrendous. It was really sore, So then you kind of wondered what it was, and then you go for injections, and it works for a while, and then you got to realize that you better bite the bullet and get it done. And I have a friend of mine who's in the matter there. He's a spine consultant, and he's recommended I go for an MRI. And it showed up that I did have arthritis on it. So I said, look, let's just do it. Let's get it done.
How was it mentally to go from, right, we've done this, we've recovered, we've done our glute exercise, we're back, we've covered a marathon, and now it's like, oh no, we're back to this again. What's the mental side to that, Lawrence?
Well, you just know what process you have to go through, but funnily enough, you can actually be out longer than breaking a leg. You can be out longer breaking a leg than you can after a hip replacement.
Really?
I mean, like, my own experience was I was kind of back jogging after about 3 months. Okay. Now, if that's, people might not recommend that, but like, I'm not going against any consultant's advice at all. I just listened to my own body, and I'd run on grass. And I think when you get to a certain age, any kind of running, you don't want the impact on pavements and roads. And, you want to maybe start running on like a bit like AstroTurf or grass if you can. But I mean, sometimes that's not available to people, so they got to go running on the road. But it does take an impact on your joints, as you're probably aware yourself with all the guys and even yourselves. It's like there's only so much running on the road you can do. And of course, nowadays, you've got the super shoes that take a bit of the pressure off, and that's a big deal now. The shoes now, what people are wearing as well, they're giving you a bit more bounce. But then again, there's been research done on the carbon plates now that they're not that great for wearing and training because they're meant to propel you forward. So you're taking less, you're not building your calves up as much. Is something I heard from somebody recently, where your calves will get weaker if you keep wearing those carbon shoes all the time for training. They're specific for race day. So I'd kind of keep those shoes for race days if I was going to wear carbon shoes at all.
Oh,
but like I mean, the hip
with the price of them, and they're only good for a couple of hundred kilometers.
That's all they're good for nowadays. Yeah. I know exactly. Yeah, and if you do a PB, you'll keep them, you'll frame them. It's it's one of those things. But man, and I suppose that it's like the Imelda Marco of running shoes. There's a friend of mine who actually he's partially blind, and I think he's got about 150 pairs of running shoes.
My God.
Oh yeah, there's a guy. Yeah, I won't mention his name, but he's an amazing runner himself. And he runs with a guide, but he's the best man for asking where's the best websites for the new running shoes that you want to buy, because there's a lot of European sites now that you'd never heard of that you'll get the shoes from.
Were you a bit nervous, Lawrence, after the second surgery? Obviously, the process, but you get back after 3 months. We're back running on the grass now on the second hip. What point did that turn into? Do you know what? There's a marathon in me here. That's my goal. Because a marathon is a long way, as you've said already in the podcast. So at what point does that begin to niggle again?
I kind of resigned myself not to do another marathon. And that was in May this year, was my second hip replacement. So May last year. And then a friend of mine, we were out doing a few runs and it felt pretty good. I was 10Ks, 15Ks. And I thought, yeah, maybe I can do that. Because I always kind of have a ticket for the half marathon, the 10 miler, and the marathon. I always kind of buy the bundles, so I have them if I do decide to do them anyway. And so I did. I'd done the 10 miler, I did the half marathon, and I said, no, I'm not going to do the marathon. It's just too early, too soon. But then a friend of mine had said, come on, let's do the Longwood 3/4 marathon. So, and I actually ended up doing that, and I felt pretty good with that. So, and I was going to transfer my marathon ticket to another guy, but I didn't. So I said, well, instead of it going to waste, I'll use it myself. So that's when we did the marathon this year. So I started off with friends of mine, and like I wasn't out for any particular time at all this year. I just wanted to get through it. But I felt pretty good at halfway. I felt I was probably through at 1:45 at halfway. So I thought this could be quite good. And then of course I kind of suffered towards the last 3K, but I did a 3:48, which wasn't the worst, you know.
Absolutely wasn't.
So it was good, yeah, it was good, yeah. And somebody told me that there was a world record that was 3:51 set by a guy, Tony Sigmund in America. So I don't know how official the world record is for a double hip replacement, but it's a kind of small pool of people that would be competing for that one, you know. So there was no point of advertising it, but yeah, but like it was done anyway, you know. So it's yeah, it's good. So if anybody wants to challenge it, they can, you know. it's you have to get 2 new hips, so it's not really advisable to do, but like it's done now, so I don't know if I'll be doing it again anytime soon, you know.
I struggled doing that time with 2 half decent hips, so Lord, I'm out for that one.
Right, okay, yeah. But it's like I think sometimes it's your mindset, isn't it? In any of
absolutely.
these things, you know. I mean, most of the guys or women that I would know have got a certain mindset when it comes to marathons, and they just don't give up attitude. Because when it gets sore, as I was always told before, when it gets sore, it's not really sore. It's just your brain is telling you, you know, that it's sore. But you can go another 60-70% more when you feel sore. And there's a bit of danger in that as well sometimes as well, because you can be pushing your body beyond, you know, what it's really capable of doing. Because unless you've left much, I mean, they say about leaving stuff out in the course, you know, if you've done that, you haven't given it your best. You know, and you've obviously done the marathons yourself, so you see people coming over the line, you know, and some of these guys can walk over the line as if they didn't even do a 10K.
Yeah.
You know, but of course, I think it's just muscle memory really for a lot of people, you know.
Yeah, I think sometimes you have in your head you've done the work at that point where you're really struggling, and you know mentally you've done the work, you can push through, you can kind of push through that barrier. But if you haven't done the work, you start feeling that pain. It's like, it's got to be a long day at the office here.
Yeah, it can be, yeah. And you do, and you see people falling at the wayside. And I think Foster's Avenue in Dublin's is one where you do see people under pressure, you know, going past them. Denver Pie RT's another one, you know. But the course this year, the same course, but it was just pretty rough conditions. I don't know if you did it this year yourselves, but it was...
Did it myself, yeah. It was one of the roughest
it was
ones
a bit
I've
rough,
done now.
It was rough, yeah. I don't mind running in the rain, actually, to be honest. It's I just kind of find it a bit more soothing, really, to be honest. You know?
Yeah, that was a lot more wind this year than any. I've done 8 or 9 of them at this stage, but the wind going through Crumlin and all the rest, the 13, 16 mile was just because it was so open. Like I've done 1 or 2 where it's been rain, but that wind coming at you and everything, and knowing you've got a good bit to go still. It was a rough one this past year. Hopefully we're due a half decent one now in 2026.
I hope so, yeah. Well, maybe I'll get that. If I've got a ticket for that one, I'll see if I can do that one. But I don't know if it's on the cards this year, to be honest, you know. I definitely don't think it's advisable on what happened to me there.
Yeah, you ran since Dublin Marathon, though, did you? You ran, you said something about Tom Brennan, 5K or something New Year's Day. Did you do that this year, Lawrence? Did you do that?
I started to do it, actually. I started off doing it, you know. I done it the last 3 years, actually. And then this year I was going to do it with my son, but he decided he wasn't going to do it because he has a sore problem with his ankle at the moment. So he's probably got growing pain in his ankle because he's only 14, you know. So he didn't do it, but I did it and started off doing it. So it didn't really go to plan, you know, as you well know. And it's a bit of it's a hard one to stomach at the moment because, as you know, what happened, I kind of had a bit of a disaster halfway around, you know, and I collapsed. And I'm still alive to tell the tale because my heart stopped. I had a cardiac arrest at 2.5 kilometers, which is kind of something that you never think is going to happen to you.
Hydration is key to fueling endurance performance.
Perform Nutrition's Electrolytes Plus sachets have been specifically designed to fill the need for advanced hydration for athletes.
With 1,000 milligrams sodium, all essential electrolytes, and 2,500 milligram performance blend made up of glutamine, taurine, and coconut water powder, one sachet will replenish and revitalize your hydration.
Using natural flavors, natural colors, no added sugar, and no added fillers, each sachet has a sweet and lightly salted fruity flavor and comes in either mixed berry or citrus.
Informed, sport tested, and trusted by Olympians such as Kate O'Connor, world champion boxer Aoife O'Rourke, and pro triathlete Nikki Bartlett, and many more elite athletes.
Trust Perform to fuel your excellence. And by listening to this advert, you are supporting Irish businesses and this podcast. Now let's get back to the episode.
You know,
It's quite a different scenario to be in, because as everyone knows, it's New Year's Day and it's just an ordinary day and we're all going for a run. It's a cold day. When people, and we're asking because sometimes we don't get to have a conversation with someone who has a cardiac arrest during the race.
I know.
How was the day feeling for you that day?
Well, it started off pretty well. I think I'd gone through the first 2.5K in like 10 minutes or something, or maybe 10 minutes. I was on for maybe a 21.5, 22, and I just remember coming around the corner towards just on the second lap, and I got this horrendous dizziness in my head, and I said to myself, I'm not finishing this, and I can't remember anymore. I ended up in the ambulance. Lucky enough, I ended up in the ambulance, and I was kind of wide awake going to the hospital, where I was in intensive care for 24 hours. They had to stent my heart. I had a 99.9% blockage, which was a real shock, because I'd actually had my bloods done in September, and I'd always be getting my bloods done. I'd always be making sure that everything's in cardiac MRIs, and nothing showed up. So I suppose part of the reason I'm on today is to raise awareness that nobody's actually bulletproof, and all the training in the world is not going to save you from something wrong with your heart. You know, and
nothing showed up at all in the bloods in hindsight or anything like that. There was no indication that, because we're after talking for the last 30 plus minutes. Yeah. You've done Ironmans, you've done marathons, you've done them with double hips and all the rest, and you went out for a 5K run and 2.5K in. And you get your bloods and all checked, and at this point,
all the time, so, and nothing at all. And it wasn't like I could actually. I had a 70% blockage. It's not like I could have felt a chest pain and gone to the hospital and they did an X-ray on me or an angiogram and then stented me. Then, because some people that have heart attacks can actually physically go into the hospital themselves. They can walk in. They can get their X-rays. They can get their angiograms, or there's other tests they can do as well. But I had no chance. I was dead on my feet for like, some people say it was like 7 or 8 minutes. Other people that I spoke to, I mean, Eric, you were there, weren't you? So somebody said to me, maybe it was 13 minutes. But the scary thing, there's another guy. I mean, I'd like to thank a lot of people, obviously, when I'm on here as well tonight, because I've gotten the names of a number of people. There was another guy, Owen, there, who's actually a friend of mine. And he was right beside me when I fell. And I was asking him, and this is the quite scary part, that he said, you actually started changing colour very quickly. And when he looked into my eyes, they were actually grey. And my whole body started turning grey because there was no blood to the brain, you know? So, I mean, to comprehend that I'm sitting here today talking to you is just like a miracle. It's an absolute miracle.
Yeah,
the guys that are...
It's interesting. And Owen, I just want to call out Owen. He was thinking about signing up for our Barcelona marathon trip, but he bitched out of it. So Owen, come on now.
For fuck's sake, Owen.
Right. Yeah. So you know what?
Moving.
You were dizzy. You felt nothing. Or you felt dizzy. You felt like you weren't going to make it. And the next thing you know, you're in the ambulance. So is that what you don't remember falling? You don't remember dropping? You don't remember any of that then? So Eric, you jumped in then and you saw Lawrence.
Was Tom there? There was another guy, Tom.
There was another guy, Tom, yeah. So Owen and then Tom, I believe, is a paramedic. Lawrence,
he's a paramedic. I met him last week, yeah.
Yeah, and I arrived pretty much soon after Tom, and between the two of us, we were quite, between checking pulse and everything, we knew that CPR was the next thing that needed to happen, because there was as you've correctly said, and as Owen probably highlighted, you'd lost all colour, you know, you weren't breathing, and we couldn't get a pulse in your groin, your neck, so it was quite obvious for us it was a cardiac arrest. And
Cardiac arrest.
Yeah. So we started to do what we could to give you a chance as quickly as we could. And in fairness to Tom, he was the trained person. I was happy to just
Yeah,
help
he's
him out.
10 years paramedic in London. Yeah, I met him last week, actually. We had a conversation because I didn't know what he looked like. So he had to make himself known to me. And I asked him, I said, what was happening? And he said, yeah, you were gone. You were literally down for 13 minutes. You were dead.
Yeah,
And
it's
he told me statistics as well. The statistics are quite scary, that even in the hospital, they were telling me that 95% of outside cardiac arrests don't survive.
95%.
yeah, it's
And even it's quite worrying statistics. So I suppose in that day, because I know you guys talked about it on your podcast the following 2 days after, you did, Eric, as well. Anyway, that you were there. The fact that if I wasn't there in that place at the right time, I wouldn't be alive today, and my children they'd basically be orphans. Which is the really sad part around it, when there's nothing that I could have done to change that day, because I felt good in the morning. We all do. We all go out for runs. And I'd gone out for a run on the 28th of December from Dunleary, from UCD to Dunleary and back again, because I was putting in my semi-long run for Seville on the 13th of February. And if that happened down there wouldn't have been anybody around to save my life. So it just happened that day. As I think you mentioned too, there was about 7 or 8 people that were medically trained, and I was actually in the right place at the right time, and there was somebody looking out for me. So it's
on the parts you don't remember, Lawrence, and again, names, as we've said in this podcast, everyone says hello to me, I'll get names, I forget them straight away.
Sure, yeah.
But to give context for people and to show and we did mention the quality of people that were running about 1 minute slower than you that day, which worked in your favor. You had basic life support instructors, nurses, an anesthesiologist. You had other paramedics.
Kira was the gal,
yeah, you had other people who were doing excellent jobs in terms of ringing the National Ambulance Service as well to get that on the way while everything else was going on. The civil defence ambulance or the event ambulance that was there to arrive with the defibrillator, which played a very, very big role in bringing you back around or resuscitating you. There were so many people, or even one person finished the 5K in an outstanding time, and then I sent them running back to try and get your details so we could find out more about you. So even the likes of that person, and I did mention in the podcast previous, there's maybe 40 or 50 people who played a role, before you even got to the hospital itself, and it just shows a credit to Liffey Valley Athletics Club on a great event, and all those people who stopped and did what they could, and with a good cause, because you're here now.
I know, yeah, and I can't thank them enough. I literally can't thank them enough. I mean, I'm only 29 days alive as my new birthday is the 1st of January. That's when I was born again. And it's very sobering to think that life could have been so much different. But look, I mean, it also as well is having a defibrillator. I mean, it's having one, knowing where to find one. I mean, I see them now. It's like when I see if you bought a red car, you see red cars all the time. Whereas if you don't know what a defibrillator looks like, you start looking out for them now. You got to know where they are. And you got to be there in time, because every minute counts. And the fact that I think 10 seconds was the first person got on top of me to start my pulse and my CPR. Like personally, I wouldn't know how to do CPR properly, and I don't know how many people would. I know people do it at work and they get taught, but they kind of forget because, look, you never think it's going to happen to you. Never. And, the more people that, you talk to about this, about my situation, there's a lot of people that haven't actually made it. There's a lot of people that haven't made it. And I know, I'm not going to say, but even this year alone, there was 5 people in a hospital that that had the defibrillators there and they didn't make it. They were actually in the hospital having cardiac arrests. So I really lost for words on what I can recommend to people. I said, look, listen to your body. I didn't have any symptoms, and that's the maddest thing. I didn't have any symptoms. And if I had, we all have pains and we aches and pains from overtraining. Just be careful. Make sure, especially around your chest area, because that's the one that's going to get you, And it's not a scaremongery thing to say to people, because I'd be the first person to say, no, I'm okay, and nothing wrong with me, and before you know it, that's what happened to me. And a friend of mine that was actually doing the race as well, his phone was in my car, and he was waiting for me. He thought I'd just run away, I'd driven home, and he didn't actually realize. He said the last person. He said, I saw some guy getting carried into an ambulance, and he said, that guy was probably out last night. He shouldn't have been doing it today, right? But he said the last person I thought it was you. He said, only when you never turned over. So I mean, like, and how many times have you seen somebody? Because we've all done even small events. I mean, this was a 5K. That's a warm up in some people's. A 5K. And you walk past people, you run past people, you see them on the ground. Nobody's going to remember your time, but they're going to remember you helping somebody. So if you see anybody in trouble, there's always another race. But if you can save somebody's life like they did for me, I mean, as you said on the last podcast, that they're absolute legends. They're masters of their trade, and they're there to help. And the running community is a phenomenal community of people. They do. You meet them. I'm in a kind of running club in UCD myself, and they're all amazing people. And hopefully you'll never have to save somebody's life. But I suppose the best thing you can ever give a present to somebody is a first aid course. And even find out where the nearest defibrillator is for not necessarily for you, because you're not going to use it on yourself, hopefully, but you can certainly use it on somebody else. So that's really a call. Like I didn't really know. I mean, the treatment's still ongoing now. Will I be back next year? Hope so. I hope so. I'm still going through a lot of tests. Well, the thing about cardiac arrest is, I mean, I suppose 95% of people don't make it. The other 5% are left with a bit of scarring of the heart or psychological issues, because I was extremely lucky that some people say I have psychological issues anyway, but I haven't changed that much. You do get a bit apprehensive when you go for a walk to see what's going to happen. Hence the reason I'm doing dry January, because if I get that funny feeling in my head, I think I might be having a cardiac arrest again, when it might just be the alcohol. So no, it's quite sobering to think that I'm here talking today. And look, if anybody's listening in today, please get your medicals. If you can save your life by one medical, please do.
Lars, when it comes to medicals, the one thing that really shocked me. Last year, something came up with work, and all the coaches got to get their bloods and stuff done. And one of the reasons I thought this was great was because, unfortunately, I think it was last year, you correct me if I'm wrong, a young girl from Cork did a half marathon, didn't make it. At the same weekend, someone from Scotland didn't make it. And I remember thinking, if I got my bloods done, I got them checked, and I ended up seeing a couple of things I wasn't happy with, and getting rechecked in September because I really wasn't happy with them. And I was like, I put it down to getting weddings, the honeymoons, and all the rest. But you're after saying you got your bloods done in September, only 3-4 months before this happened, and nothing turned up. What is it? Only a full medical? Do you know would clear, or is it different things people can get that there's someone listening going, you know what? I need to get checked now.
I'm not medical. Yeah, I'm not medical, and I'm what. This is only what I've been told. So nobody can hold me to. Nobody hold this to me. Some doctors have told me that I know that the kind of only way you can find out is by an angiogram. Okay,
what is angiogram? That for? That's people where that doesn't know.
They put a dye into your heart. I had the angiogram when I was in the hospital. They go in through your wrist, and they stent through your heart that way. When they find, and that's
the only way that from your conversations you heard?
From the conversations I've had with people, yeah. I mean, they could do a cardiac MRI as well, which I had one of those in 2018. because I was hearing that a lot of people were having sudden deaths in Ironmans. Specifically in long distance, like cycling, where the heart just stops automatically, right? And they have a cardiac arrest. But sometimes they find that there might have been a bit of scarring on the heart. And if you have a bit of scarring on the heart, maybe possibly it could be enlarged. Again, I'm not medical, so I don't necessarily know. I'm only going by what I've heard. So nobody can hold me to this. So this is what I've just heard. So I had that cardiac MRI done in 2018 before I did Barcelona. And I was fine. I was told you're fine. You have no scarring of the heart, so you're good enough to go. You're good enough to go on that. But there is so many people, as you mentioned, the girl in Cork, from Cork, that there was a girl in the Edinburgh half marathon.
Edinburgh,
as well.
yes, I think it was the same weekend.
Yeah, it was. I know, and a friend of mine's actually his son would have been very friendly with her, and she just finished medical school. But anyway, look, it's heartbreaking to think that a life could be saved, if there's a defibrillator there and people know how to do CPR, because there's a lot of people that don't make it because there's no CPR available and there's no defibrillator, So it's a pretty morbid subject, but it's an incredibly important one. And I think the more people that are taking up running now, because, and they don't sometimes realize that there is a lot of stress on the heart. I mean, I always thought in the past, my resting heart rate would be really low, like 41, 42. And I can push it to 200, So when you think about that, something has to give somewhere, And you've had some proper runners on, and I don't know what their views are on that, but I mean, they'd be a bit younger than me, I'd say. But obviously the older you get as well, even the consultant that I'm using at the moment, he was mentioning to me that there's a lot of cyclists of a certain age coming in with heart issues, So I don't know. I'm not saying to people, it's all doom and gloom. When your time, I suppose, when I was told my time wasn't up. The girl in the hospital told me it wasn't your time. So here I am,
And Lawrence, when you came back, did you have any premonitions of lotto numbers, or considering you're one of the 5%, one of the luckiest people?
No.
Have you got any other insights we can cash in on?
No, I was actually told by Ivor Casserly, who did my stent. There was somebody in the room at the time said, "You should do the lottery," and he went, "No." He said, "All your luck has run out today."
Wow,
So
that's one way of looking at it.
So there's no way I was doing the lottery there, But anyway, look, I'm here to tell the tale, and look, if I can help anybody else, they can reach out to me, reach out to you guys. And look, I mean, even now for me to get a first aid course now is, you got to find out where they are, to be able to learn,
And Lawrence, you said that
probably the best.
January 1st was your birthday, I suppose, and is this now a shift in the mentality for you in how you move on? Because it is a lot to process.
Yeah.
It's a lot to process, and there can be elements of guilt, there can be elements of shock, especially when you hear the percentages and your luck has run out and this and that, and you've used it all. And how do you, because you've proven time and time again through the stories about the hips that you have the mentality to change. How does this differ for you now?
Well, I mean, they said the reason I survived because I was fit. So I mean, and it's just how does it change? Well, you're the only person who can change, because nobody around you is going to change. You come back into this life as a new person. Because I mean, I suppose statistically I should be gone. And I'm not saying that we joke aside, but my wife was actually saying to me, "We'll be coming up for your month's mine if you had died."
Oh, that is
it's quite sobering, right? We were joking, but you have to see sometimes a different side of it as well, because all those things go through your mind. What did I leave behind me? What did I not do? I left that house at 7:30 in the morning that day, and my kids were in bed still. My daughter was in bed, my wife was upstairs, and and I didn't say goodbye because it was too early. I left the house, I think, 6:45, and I wasn't coming home.
Wow.
only for the amazing guys around me on that day, you know. And as you say, if I was a minute behind those guys or 2 minutes behind those guys, I was thinking the unlikelihood of another 7 or 8 paramedics behind me that way was fairly slim. You know that? I mean, there'd have to be like 14 or 15 paramedics in that race.
It wasn't that big a race. It was a great race,
it's not a requirement for signing up. But yeah, so look, everything was for me that day. Everything was for me that day, and I'm so grateful that I'm here to be able to tell the tale. And yeah, and then I don't know what to say really, you know, other than that. I thank the people individually. You know.
And Lawrence, I suppose we are coming up on the hour. We've taken up a lot of your time, and I know you did want to extend thanks one more time to people. Is there anything you want to say as a final word?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I mean, I've got some names of people that I'd like to thank. I thank Tom, because I met Tom last week in town. He was over from the UK, so we had lunch together, and again, he kind of highlighted to me how lucky I was as well. And
Tom actually made me feel bad because he went and finished the 5K afterwards. I walked back.
He did.
And then he kept going. I was like,
that's right. Yeah.
Way to make me feel
bad. He said
bad, Tom.
He finished. He said he had the slowest 5K in history, but anyway, he saved a life. He saved a life, so he's allowed that one. So there was also there's Kira as well, who's an anaesthetist there up in Tala Hospital. I believe Kira was on the scene as well, and there was Eric, which is yourself, Eric. There was Derek as well, and another guy, Owen, who's the guard, who's a friend of mine actually. And anybody else, I haven't got your name. I really do appreciate what you did, whether it was going back to get the defibrillator, the Order of Malta, all the ambulance staff, the fire engines that arrived, you know, even the people in the hospital. They were just, I think they were more amazed that I actually came in alive than just coming in, you know. Because another friend of mine, his brother works in the Mater, and he's responsible for getting the theatre organised for people coming in from an outside cardiac arrest. And he actually mentioned that they very rarely arrive alive.
Yeah, it just wasn't your day.
It just shows you, doesn't it? It wasn't my day, you know, and hopefully I'll have many other runs to do. And look, as you said, has it changed my outlook on life? It has to, you know. I don't think I'll be doing too many races in the future, you know. I think I'll be doing more helping people if I can, you know. You know, it's you got to listen to your body. And I think my body's now told me, I think it's about time you maybe hung up your long distance boots, you know.
It was a 5K that nearly got you, Lawrence. It was a 5K.
I know, a 5K. I know, it's... maybe I'll go back to, I'm not allowed to go anywhere near a pair of running shoes for about 4 or 5 months at this stage, that's for sure, you know. So all my new shoes that I got for Christmas are all sitting in boxes, and they'll be there.
What size are you?
10 and a half. Yeah.
Also, I better give you back a wallet I stole from you that day as well.
I saw that. Yeah. I don't have any money anyway. So that's really what happened on the day. You know, it's pretty amazing, and hopefully you won't have anybody else on that's gone through the same thing again. You know. But the one thing is, like, just help people. If you're ever on a run or cycle and somebody's under pressure, you don't know what they're doing, you know? You don't know what they're doing. So,
and it has been fantastic. And I have to say, Lawrence, what a privilege it is to actually hear what you sound like. You know,
okay.
Because at the time we met, it was quite a different meeting, and how grateful everyone who did that, who ran past the ambulance, who thought about you on that day, who may listen to this, how grateful we all are that you have a new birthday and that you are recovering, and hopefully we do see you for a 5K walk, run, whatever it may be. And again, to mention the organisers and all those who played a very, very important role. Well done to everyone again. And
can't thank them enough.
Yeah, it's been fantastic to get to speak to you. Fantastic to hear your story, and hopefully many more to come, Lawrence. And thanks so much for giving us all your time on this week's episode of the Any Given Run.
No worries, that's great. Well, thanks for having me on.
And that is it for myself, Lawrence and Eric. Take care.
Thanks. Cheers. Thank you.